Hi, everybody. I would imagine a lot of you have had a busy weekend, and I think it's time you need to take a break and relax and watch a video. Okay, so, gosh, I have had this big picture in my mind ever since the Powercast on Thursday. Now, Thursday's Powercast was actually the first pillar of wisdom that Mike and Barris discussed, and that pillar is redemption. And in that Powercast, uh, the subject of the Kinsman Redeemer came up. Now, so ever since then, I've had this big picture going on in my head, because I like how Paul, he gives us a big picture when he talks about first Adam and last Adam, and when he talks about, because he goes all the way back to literally creation, until the cross, when he explains the gospel and what happened and how. And he talks about the first Adam, the last Adam, and how all were condemned in the first Adam, uh, were raised to life in the last Adam, and things like that. And both Paul and Peter actually talk about how Christ was our brother, our kinsman. Um, without using the term kinsman redeemer, both of them are actually talking about that as though that gives him a special right. The kinsman redeemer, the most common story or example of that was in the story of Boaz and Ruth. That Boaz, because he was kin, was able to redeem Ruth. There are other examples, and because the one that comes to my mind is Rahab the harlot. She redeemed her father and his entire family, because she was kin. That was all type and shadow of Christ becoming a kinsman redeemer. So, um, and then it got me thinking about, not only did Christ become our kin, he became the kin of the first Adam. And so, uh, trying not to go off tangent here, but see, from the foundations of the world, it's often discussed in the Bible from the foundations of the world about God and his whole plan from the very beginning. And from the foundations of the world, before Adam was even created, the foundations had already started. Um, so, um, now, from the foundations of the world, God had us in mind all the time. And so I want to talk about how much he had us in mind all the time. And let's see. It says in Matthew chapter 13, verse 35, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet, saying, I will open up my mouth in parables. I will utter things which have been kept secret from the foundation of the world. Matthew 25:34. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come, ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. Luke 11:50. That the blood of all the prophets which was shed from the foundation. Oops, I didn't want to read that one. Sorry. John 17:24. Father, I will that they also whom thou hast given me be with me where I am, that they may behold my glory, which thou hast given me, for thou lovedst me before the foundation of the world. Now, Jesus said that he knew that God loved him before the foundations of the world. Well, was he the only one God loved? Now, Ephesians 1:4 says we were included in that love, according as he hath chosen us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before him in love. So, um, all along, God had a plan. Before he created the first Adam, he had a plan. Before the first Adam disobeyed and fell, he had a plan. Did God know? Yes, he knew. So here, God creates this beautiful creature called Adam in his image. But let me tell you something about everything that God created. See, God created heaven and earth. God created the angels, and God created man. And there was a hierarchy. There's God, angels, man. That's the way he originally set it all up. Well, everything that God created was corruptible. Everything. And Lucifer proved it first because sin started with him, and he was corrupted by sin. And then Adam was corrupted by sin. So when Adam was corrupted by sin, being a kinsman, he was the kinsman condemner because his corruption by sin got that sin imputed to everyone, every human being. And so um, now God saw all of this, but in his heart of hearts, in his mind all along, he had a plan. He wanted he wanted children. He wanted sons. Jesus wanted brethren. Let's make it a family story, okay? So right from the get-go, God knew how this was gonna go, but he always had a plan. And so then God decides to, when the time came, and humanity goes through this childhood and everything, and adolescence, and finding its own way and trying to find its own righteousness, then God actually does something uniquely wonderful. Because of the sin, something had to be done, and that sin had to be wiped away. And and so God had to do it in a very special way because, according to Hebrews, it was appointed unto men once to die, then the judgment. Well, he loved us so much since the foundations of the world. He always had a way of accomplishing that and what he really wanted. And to do that, he became the last Adam. So God did not substitute his son for uh, our death. He included his son. He included himself in the death of man so that man could live. And what he did was a beautiful thing because him becoming human, he was kin to us by blood. He was kin to all of Adam. See, the Bible calls all of humanity in Genesis chapter 3, every man, woman, and child that ever lived, Adam. Their name was called Adam, singular. Their plural name was called Adam. So all of humanity was Adam. So Jesus joined Adam and became human, became a man. But because he was the perfect sacrifice, born of the Spirit of God without sin, in his death, he was able to destroy sin and then raise us. And at his resurrection, we all died in him because it was appointed unto all men to die. All men did die in him and protected in him. He raised up, and it says when he was raised up, he died for us and became sin. When he was raised with no sin. Sin was gone. It was destroyed. It went into the grave forevermore. It's dead, and the grave itself was destroyed. So he raised us up incorruptible. See, everything in the first creation that was created by God was below God, and it was subject to corruption because it wasn't in God. It wasn't of God. When he raised us up, we were now of his seed, incorruptible. We were raised to his level, that hierarchy. We were down here, and angels were in the middle, but nobody was equal with God. He raised us equal with him, incorruptible, just like him. It was always a love story. It always has been a love story. And That's all I wanted to talk about today, and sorry that went so long. Oh, and I forgot one more thing. Have a revolutionary week.